So this is a story all about how I decided not to go by the title Stylist anymore. It's January 7th, and Mars moved back into Cancer yesterday. I've been becoming transparent about my natal birth chart. And the reason is because I realized I needed to show people how I use astrology to help me do shadow work. As someone who's been a stylist for 10 years, roughly, right? Fashion styling first, and then moving into personal styling, and a whole while on the verge of a spiritual awakening in a cult-like group that was plastered all over the news. Anyway, just gonna brush past that part. It's not the point of today's story. I realized that I needed to understand myself in a way that I could see, you know? The reason why I was ever and even a stylist, it kind of is in my blood to be this artistic, you know? To be this resourceful and also fluid when it comes to images, pictures, and stories, right? Images and pictures are the same thing. What I mean is moving pictures and telling stories, crafting, everything Venusian, really. Now I put it out there, so it's not something that I'm protective about talking about anymore because I understand just how powerful I am. I'm gonna roll that back. I understand just how much power I did not know I had. I'm understanding as I tap into more and more of my power that I had no idea. And a lot of it is stemming from what I like to call altering your shadows. 2024 was my power year. Let's just say it like that. And technically, in my way of observing seasons in nature, we're still in the 2024 astrological season. So until we hit Aries, I'm still coming to my power, right? So in 2023, like the end of the year, I saw a post that asked, what's your year for 2024? And as I was thinking about it, the word power, I literally saw the word power in my mind. I saw it in my mind's eye. And at the time, me and the word power had a very, is it contemptuous? I'm not quite sure the word. We did not have the best of relationships because I understood, or what I was being reflected in my reality was that people were always trying to hold power over me. And I didn't understand that reflection. So I was very resistant to receiving the word power. I actually went right over it. And it's something that I, in retrospect, have learned is going on. While I'm thinking up here, there are thoughts happening back here. And if you follow what I'm saying more, you'll start to get a sense of what I mean. Because there's multiple functionings, multiple things that are happening inside of our brain, inside of our mind, inside of us, right? And a lot of us are unaware. I have been vastly unaware. But before this turns into a different type of story, I'm gonna stay on track because the Mercury retrograde is over. Mercury is slowly moving out of Sagittarius and will be in Capricorn tomorrow. And don't get me wrong, I love me some Sag. Boy, I love me some Sag. Sag season came through for me because I almost said Mars. My moon is in Sag, okay? So in the 5th house. So all my creativity comes from there, especially when I follow my intuition. And I saw that so fully in Sag season. However, I also saw that details were very hard to pay attention to. They literally just slipped out of awareness, right? It was very easy. Oh my God, so easy to make typos. I swore that said when. Why does it say that? Right? There were so many things that I was like, wow, I really have to pay attention here. Anyway, what was happening during that season was like a fluctuation of vision, right? And that's amazing. And also, you have to learn how to stay on track. And I have never really been the best at that. This goes back to what I'm talking about with like the thoughts going on in the back of your mind, right? My mind is very air influenced, like thoughts and ideas all the time. Staying on track takes effort, takes a lot more effort. And so that's what I was seeing. So circling back, because you're kind of getting a taste of it right now, but let me tell you, it was on steroids. Oh my God, it was on steroids during Mercury. That too, that was happening a lot. That was happening all the time. So it was a lot harder to stay focused and stay on track with what I was talking about. Anyway, circling back. In the back of my mind, I was placing all the times where people were holding power over me and why I hated power and why I would not agree to my year being categorized as power or powerful or filled with power or anything power related. And while I was fighting myself that resistance, I came to, in my mind, like I observed myself, I like woke up inside of my thoughts and I was like, wait a minute. I'm here resisting a word that was given right to me because I'm looking, now I'm like in the front of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, what other word can I use? And I don't remember the words I was trying to come up with, but it was obviously not hit because my word was supposed to be power. It was always supposed to be power. And then I confirmed that later as and after my Saturn returned in my 8th house. Scorpio themes and Scorpio rules the 8th house. So it was very obvious, but at the time I was not paying attention to my birth chart like that. So I realized I was resisting and I took on the word power. And as I took on the word power, I started to learn what that meant. I started to see what that looked like. And I started to understand, Scorpio themes, that the reason why I was so resistant to power was because I was jealous. And it's crazy to say that because that's still something that I did not have the word for until very recently. I didn't understand that that was jealousy, but there is a very strong part of me that understands power is necessary in a lot of ways. And so I'm so grateful, actually. I appreciate what I went through in feeling powerless, right? Because when you are aware of what it feels like to be powerless, you don't want to make anyone feel that way. You understand that if it is within your power to help someone else realize their power, you will make those choices, or you will, make choices to align with that, right? So that's what I started to understand was being reflected at me. And, I started to own my shit. Like, I started to take steps to understand my power and how to wield it and how to focus it. All that being said, during 2024, the winter solstice had a lot for me. And it was around that time where I was hearing, remove it. And it was Stylist. Instagram tends to be my, canvas for my identity evolutions. And what I didn't realize was my South Node, North Node axes playing out. What I tended to do every time I felt like a new person, and not just every time I felt like a new person, but like certain conditions had to be met, right? I felt like a new person all the time, like a lot. But there would be certain times where it was like I would look around and everything was wrong, right? Like, I no longer related or resonated with the people around me. I didn't like where I was or what I was doing. I didn't like how I was dressing. Like, there were a lot of moments like that where I would just, and it was like, everything needs to change. And I'm not saying it doesn't work like that now. What I am saying, though, is I understand processes. And I understand that for some people, it's better to take it gradually than to just flip a switch and be a different person, because what happens is acclimation doesn't get a chance to take place, which means that the rest of you doesn't really get a chance to catch up with who you are being now. And the only reason why I believe that's a problem is because sometimes that means who you used to be comes back very easily because who you are now isn't grounded and set in stone yet, right? So anyway, with that being said, what I would tend to do was make a brand new Instagram. I used to go by Jane, so there are like probably 3 Jane accounts floating around on Instagram. Whatever. I know there's another Ajane version of me somewhere that I no longer claim and I no longer have access to. And so at this point, I'm in my last Instagram iteration for me, the person. I'll say it like that. But one of the things that account that I hold now experienced with me like evolving was that I put my name and I not prefaced it, whatever the word is, like after, suffixed it. I don't think that's how you use that word. I put intuitive stylist at the end of my name so that people could understand what I was up to, what I was doing. And at the time, it worked and it made sense. But when I stopped fighting the remove it that I was constantly hearing, I realized that I was very attached to the word and the name and the role and the title of stylist. I over-identified with it. And it became an identity. And I was not aware of that even being the case. But as I became aware of that, it became too obvious how that was holding me back. And so, like, even just adding the word intuitive in front of it didn't really give me the freedom to do and be like I need. So I'm saying that to say that it's not that I'm not a stylist anymore. I feel like that's always going to be in my blood. But the thing is, I'm not just a stylist. I'm more a creative director. The way that my brain works and the way that I create is not limited to styling. I literally make, create, design, craft. I do it all. And I'm not saying it to say like I need to do it all. I enjoy doing it all. But I'm also at a point where I'm understanding focus isn't needed. It's needed. It's imperative. And so I still have this thing in my tool belt. There's so many projects that I've done that I'm so proud of. Just leaving this space open for me to put a little like flash of photos for you to see all of my favorite projects I've done over the years that I can pull up and I can find, because again, with a new identity comes a new email address. So I don't have access to all of the projects that I've ever put my hands on. I basically started straight out of college. I dropped out of college, actually. I was going to Hunter. And my plan was, after graduating High School of Fashion, I always had also a contemptuous relationship with the fashion industry. Because this was in my blood, it was very obvious. It was a very obvious path to follow, but it was never going to be enough. That was always clear to me. I didn't know yet what to do next, and I'm glad I didn't know, because there's no way I would have agreed to all the shit that I've been through to this point. Ain't no way. So I graduated high school, and I decided I was going to be a psychologist. I went to Hunter, and I realized I cannot do that. I love psychology. I strongly detest modern medicine and all of the ways that it's structured to limit humans and their beingness. So that was difficult. And during that time, like, Hunter is not an artistic college by any means. The only thing that I really had to hold on to was a contemporary dance class. And as a child, I was a competitive dancer and, like, did recitals and all the stuff. And so I had always been around dance and dancing, and, you know, when I was young, I used to dance in the church and things like that. But that was never my ministry, so to speak. That was never my calling. It was always a means to an end. And I'm so grateful for dance, because dance was what introduced me to costumes. And costumes are the reason that I'm a stylist today. It was so clear to me that just the contemporary dance class being the motivation for me going to school was a waste of money. And so I dropped out of college. And I started following a dream to model. I mean, I told you I was 30. So, like, my millennials, if y'all remember ANTM, America's Next Top Model, it had me wanting to be a model. Let's just say that. I think I was always like that, but, like, that was my imaginary vehicle to get into it. And so when I dropped out of college, I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And so I put myself on Model Mayhem, which is like a modeling site, and I tried to figure out how to do it. And child, I had to be 18. Yeah. The point is, I ended up finding someone who booked me as a hair model and would color my hair. And through this person, they gave me the opportunity, once they sat me in their chair, because you know how it is with salons. They sat me in their chair and they asked me what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be and what I saw myself doing. And when I was in high school, I was in a program for visual merchandising, which is basically styling mannequins. And so I already knew I had this skill set, and I decided, like, well, I would like to try it on people. And this person remembered me saying that. And so when they were planning a shoot to show off their hair and beauty skills, they asked me if I would like to be the stylist. And that's how it all started. I just kept styling from there. And I got my hands on whatever project I could. We traded our skills for the photographer's photos, which the photographer's photos were their skills manifested. And so that's how we collectively build our books, and which is our portfolio. I did that for 2 years successfully. And I did say I was Caribbean, right? So you can imagine that there was some worry of my future. Everyone shows their love in different ways, you know? And I appreciate how my Nana loved me. And she did what she thought was best. And she left me with no choice. And in order for me to honor her, I just honored that request of her. So I went back to school. I decided to go to school for design, as you do. And that was a high-speed lesson on power and powerlessness. not just in school, in every area of life. When I started working, when I was in relationships, all the things, everything, everything showed me how I was believing that surrendering myself and sacrificing myself was necessary to get where I needed to go and to love the people I wanted to love and, to achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve. And now I know that that was a lie. That was never true. And I needed to learn it the way that I did. Maybe I should take a moment. Okay. It was to teach me the contrast of not trusting myself. There were a lot of things that happened around me that I knew were going to happen before they happened. And then when they happened, I was angry. And it was a misplaced anger because the anger was for me. I was angry with myself. I was angry that I didn't listen to myself, and then I was angry that I didn't trust myself enough to listen to myself. So my year of power was all about coming to terms with the reality that I'm the only person that I need to trust. And if I trust me, then I have enough trust to go around as I properly discern the people around me and their intentions and give them grace to make mistakes, while at the same time expressing my expectations and in a way negotiating them, because as someone with the Virgo placements I have, I understand that my standards can be a bit high sometimes. Especially if they're coming from a place of not enough or fear and lack, and not from a place of abundance, and not from a place of, a higher mindset in general. So when I say negotiate, that's what I mean. And I want to be clear about that. The North Node is moving, and soon the South Node will be in Virgo. Maybe by the time this goes on the internet, the South Node will be in Virgo. And so I say that to say I understand that that's my current lesson, but by no means am I advocating for negotiating in that way. That's done with, right? Libra South Node lessons are lessons that we will take moving forward in our life. So anyway, my year of power has been about recognizing it, coming to it, trusting myself, hearing the voice of my intuition, and listening. And it's been paying off. So that is why I am no longer referring to myself as a stylist. However, you're probably going to see the hashtag spiritual stylist, because that is what I am and that is what I do. That is not all I am and all I do. I do much more than that. So that's the story. Watch this space, because you're going to see a lot more innovative things, if I may say so myself. My Aquarius descendant feels that it's safe for me to say that, and that I'm sure about that. So I'm gonna wrap this up here. Let me know in the comments what your 2024 year or word and intention was, and if you feel comfortable sharing your 2025 year's theme, word, intention, let me know. It's been fun. Now it's time for more.